For part 2 of our lesson, we're going to take a reference photo of a bird that's entirely black, a raven or a crow. We have references for both birds, and we're going to make a kind of a fantastic rainbow bird out of this black bird by combining the three colors that actually combine to create black with the secondary palette, and that would be quinacridone rose, Hansa yellow, and phthalo blue. We're going to just be using these three colors to create this bird, but we're going to create a texture using a very unusual technique. I've done a little basic sketch, and you don't need a lot of detail, but one thing you do need to make note of in your sketch is the direction in which the feathers lie. Although our birds are going to be very fanciful and very imaginative and not really based on realism, there are a few things that we do want to be sure that we have so that the painting will work. And the direction of the feathers is very important, and you'll see why in just a moment. So you do want to make note in your sketch of which way the feathers point, both in the wings and also the tail feathers. We're going to begin by picking up a quantity of paint, and you may use any color you like. I'm going to start with phthalo blue. There's no particular reason why it needs to be phthalo blue, but that's just where I'm going to begin. Any of the three colors will work. So I'm going to create a little puddle of phthalo blue. Okay, and now I'm going to turn the paper, and I'm going to put down on the paper a pretty good puddle of phthalo blue. I'm going to also go ahead and put down some quinacridone rose at the same time. All right, there we go. All right, now I'm going to lean in, I'm going to blow in the direction the wings are going. You need to get your face right down on the paper, probably an inch or two away from the surface, and blow very hard, and you'll see that the paint will sort of go in all directions, but it will generally go in the direction of the feathers. Okay, get a good start there. And you can see that the rays of this are going out in the general direction of the wings, the wing feathers. I'm going to pick up a little bit more, rinse off my brush. Again, you can use any combination of these three that you like. I'm going to go ahead and put a little more rose down. I'm going to rinse my brush off. I'm going to go ahead and pick up some Hansa yellow also. We lay these blown colors down first, and then we can come back and work back into them, which is what we're going to do. Now I'm going to try to get the paint to go in the direction of the feathers. Okay. All right, so I've got kind of just spontaneously, it started to mix some little flashes of green, flashes of brown, flashes of orange. That's great. We're going to leave that there. We're going to move on back up this way and put down some color. Actually, I might put a bit more yellow down right here. Now, if you do get paint that's coming back down into the body, that's fine. You can just come down and remove it. I'm going to do that now. Okay. All right. I'm going to move on to since it's wet down here at the base of the body, go ahead and put the paint for the tail feathers down here. Once again, I'm going to start with my quinacridone, my phthalo blue. Does not have to be a very thick, a tiny moth on the paper. Okay. Does not have to be very thick for this. All right, now this time I'm going to try to get the paint to go in that direction. Okay. And try a little more. All right, there we go. Okay. Okay, I may put a little bit on the base of the tail. Okay, let's see if I can get it to go this way. Okay, and you probably want to do this somewhere where it's okay if you have some paint splatter, because you definitely will have some paint that flies off the edge of the paper and lands on things that are objects that are nearby. All right. Okay, I'm going to take a moment, come back with my number 4 round. Okay, I'm going to come right down here where this quinacridone rose is, and go ahead and pull that down into the legs and feet. Okay. His nails there. All right. Drop a little more paint in here so to brighten it up a little. Okay. Okay. I'll come over to the other side. Alrighty. And I may just pick up a little bit of blue and just drop that in as well. Alright. Okay, now we're going to come back up here again. This is starting to dry a little, so I'm going to add a little bit more paint here. It's good to let it dry a bit so that you don't keep blowing the same paint out further and further, but you can come and put subsequent layers down after it's dried a little. And it's okay also to leave some white. You don't have to cover up the whole area. All right. Okay. Time consuming, but it's a lot of fun to do. I'll try to get one to go out in this direction next. Alright, that will work. All right, I'm going to come back over here. Since this yellow is dried, and put down a little blue. Okay. All right. All right. Okay, I'm going to lift this so that I can preserve that yellow, the leading edge of this wing. There we go. Okay. Add a little more. Okay. Okay. I'm going to also take a moment and I'm going to put down a little bit of light spatter, which just seems to be sort of compatible with all of this very dynamic color. There we go. I'm putting most of it behind the bird, as if he's sort of flying out of it. Okay. Pick up a little blue. All right. And maybe just a bit. There we go. All right. All right. I'm going to come back now and I'm going to let the edge of his wing dry a little bit. Oops, I've got some green that wants to migrate down, blue wants to migrate down into this yellow. It doesn't matter if it's green or yellow, I just wanted to preserve the edge of the wing. There we go. All right. All right. We go ahead and put his beak in. I think I'll combine a little rose and a little yellow to make an orangey tone, and then put just a touch of blue in. That will drop it down into a tan. Okay. It's kind of a gold color. Okay, just pull that down. There we are. Okay. Now we can use our technique from our very first lesson where we put one color on the brush and then touch the tip into a second color. To create an edge along the front of his body. Okay. All right, now we've got all of this spatter going on with his wings. We're going to sort of tie it all together. We'll let the top of his head dry for a few minutes, but we'll come back. I'm going to come back with a dominant color, and I probably will use blue. It's just such a good bird color. So coming back with a phthalo blue, and I'm simply going to use the tip of the brush. It's okay if it drags through the wet. And this time I'm going to take my cue from the actual reference photo I have and put in a few of his feathers. And the spatters will simply fall in between. That's perfectly fine. Also can pull up our chip brush. Might not quite be fine enough. I have to use our, if you need to soften an area, you can take the edge of the flat brush and pull those colors back. Okay, I'm getting some more blue. Okay, I'm going to just come right on back and drop in some of his some feathers that actually follow the form of the realistic bird. Okay. And it's fine if you want to vary the color up. In fact, it's a good idea to do so. You want to make some of his realistic feathers a slightly different color. I'm just drawing right over the forms that we created. And when I get to the leading edge of his wing, I'm going to preserve that. Okay, and so very quickly you get something that actually looks a great deal like a wing. You can put a little texture on the front of it there. All right. Okay, so you have this really nice sort of wing form going on. We're going to come back. We're going to do the same thing with this wing. Okay. Okay, I have a beagle who wants to go outside and she's talking to us. So you hear a noise, that's probably what it is. Okay, there we go. So we're just putting the more realistic feathers among our patches of color, sort of allowing the color to tie them all together. And as your brush gets dry, if it skips some areas where there's some white left, that's fine too. Okay. Okay, and now we're going to move on down to the tail. And do the same thing. Okay. All right. And this looks a lot like a foot because it's the same color, so I'm going to actually go ahead and enhance the tail a little bit just so that there's no confusion and it doesn't look like a foot. All right, now up at the top here, I'm going to use just a thinner mixture of blue reserve where the eye will go. Add in a little rose to create purple. And keep this as sort of soft. Okay. All right. Alright, I'm going to let this dry for just a bit, and then I'm going to come back and work into it a little. We'll also add the eye. Let this dry just a little bit, and then I'll come back with one more layer of color, and then we'll finish it up with some detail in white gouache. So let's let this dry, and then we'll come back to it. All right, our bird seems to be dry, so we can come back and work into him a little bit more. I'm going to mix all three colors to create a very dark tone that I can use for his eye. That would be phthalo blue, and then add red to make a very deep purple, and then add just a tiny bit of yellow, which will create a dark, dark neutral. Okay. Put his eye in. Alrighty. Okay. Alright, now I'm going to get my number 10 round, which is a large, very large round brush, and I'm going to mix up some purple using I'm going to come back, I'm going to darken some some of our leading edge here. Okay. Then I'm going to immediately dry my brush and lift. And since we already have another color that has dried underneath, then lifting the paint will reveal that color. In other words, by lifting this purple, we reveal the blue that's underneath. Okay. Turn my paper. Switch for lifting to a smaller brush I can control a little better. Okay. So I'm lifting the center part of these strokes away, and it starts to create a pattern that resembles short feathers. Okay. Okay, still lifting, still revealing the blue underneath the purple. Just gives it a little more texture. Okay. You can start to see how it begins to resemble feathers. And all we've done is put down a dark layer and then lifted the center out. Yeah. Now my eagle is telling us that she doesn't like the thunder that she hears in the distance. She is very talkative. All right. Okay, pick up this one right here. There we go. All right. Okay, so you see that very quickly you start to build up this pattern that resembles feathers. We're going to do that a few more times here. Either blue or purple, it doesn't matter. You can use either one. Put down a dark layer. Or you may want to alternate them and use blue and purple. Okay. And what this will do, of course, is allow our hidden colors underneath to show through. And you don't have to do it for every single feather shape. You may only want to do it for a few. Okay. Come back and lift. And if your color seems to not want to lift, just put a little clean water on it, dry your brush, lift again. There you are. Okay. Okay. Now in theory, if you wanted to build up really complex set of feathers, you could just continue to layer these. We're just going to do a couple of layers. But it really creates a wonderful three-dimensional effect that's very subtle and very, very nice. Okay. 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 You can see these sort of feather forms. It's very three-dimensional. Okay, we'll do a couple more spots here. All right. Very good. All right. Now he has this wonderful sort of pink on his head. I'm going to darker layer of quinacridone rose, a tiny bit of blue mixed in. Okay, and then again, come back and lift once more. Okay. There we go. All right, then we're going to do the same thing for his wing here. Switching to the large brush, pick up a layer of blue. This long leading edge goes right along the top. And then have a number of short feathers. Okay. All right. Okay, we'll come back again. Switch to a slightly smaller brush. Dry it, dry the bristles, and lift away. Okay. Under these hot lights, it dries very quickly, so I'm going to re-wet it with some clean water. And you can do this too. If your brush stroke becomes too dry, just re-wet it, wipe your brush dry, come back and drag it, and now you can see it's revealing the yellow underneath so that you get this luminous green color. It's absolutely magical. And the orange further up, you can see the orange as well. Okay, re-wet this area close to the tip. And lift here. All right. Okay, that's very, very nice. All right, we're going to do the same thing for these. Oops. for these areas right here. Re-wet them. Lift away the blue. It reveals the color underneath. In this case, we have some more of that wonderful green because of the yellow that's hidden beneath our blue brush stroke. Okay, lift some more. And some more here. Okay. And so you can see the sort of random colors and the more carefully drawn colors work together and sort of create a wonderful pattern of light and dark and different shades of a beautiful color. Okay. I'm going to just repeat the same process here. Okay. Okay. And lift some of this color out. And do a little on the tail as well. Then we'll come back and look at ways to slightly embellish it at the very end of the process using a small amount of white. Okay, re-wetting, dry the brush, lift away the paint. Very nice, okay. A couple more spots here and we will be through with this part of the process. Wet the paper, dry the brush, lift away the pigment. All right, I think we're going to, I'm going to continue that down here on his tail, and then we'll return and put a tiny bit of white accent on him. So I'll see you in just a few minutes. All right, we're back, and I've finished up filling in the lifting some of the wing feathers, but you can take a small amount of white gouache and just put a very slight emphasis, if you want to, at the end of your process. You want to use restraint, though. You don't want to overdo the white gouache, so I'm going to put just a little bit. And it only shows up on the darker areas, so don't worry about trying to put it in the lighter areas. I'm putting just a little bit of here and there, the suggestion of feather texture. It's very slight. Just enhances the color just a little bit. But you don't want to outline anything. You don't want to load it up where you have too much on the page. The other thing that shows up well, if you want to include it, put the highlight in the eye, are small dots, and this can actually be quite similar to the effect of the spatter. And I've used the chip brush to add a little bit of background texture there, just here and there. Just putting an occasional loop that suggests a feather, but nothing much, just a little bit now and then. Just sort of adds to the complexity of the drawing. Okay. And I think this is just about finished. I've provided some raven and crow references for you. This is it's a good starting point because they don't suggest any color at all. So it's kind of nice to begin with a black bird and introduce this sort of riotous color. All right. So go ahead and choose a reference that you like and begin with a sketch. Remember that the important thing is to establish the direction in which the feathers point in the wings and the tail. Start out with putting down puddles or large beads of color and then blowing very forcefully in the direction you want it to go. Don't worry if you get some rays off in the other direction. Just ignore that. You're going to be painting right over the top of it, and all of these sort of unusual things, they still contribute greatly to the energy and the end result that you get. So remember to choose a color. Keep lights next to darks if you can, so that you can, for example, I wouldn't have made this bird's head the same color as his wing because I want to be able to see one in front of the other. So it's good to have some contrast there. Think about that as you go. Don't worry if you have some uncolored white areas. That can be interesting and can be beneficial. So go right ahead and create your rainbow bird, and I will look forward to seeing you next time. Have fun.